Hey guys, today I'm going to show you the best win and the worst loss of Hikaru Nakamura in this year's Candidates tournament in Toronto, Canada. Hikaru has said repeatedly that he literally doesn't care about the results of this tournament, that he is first and foremost a professional streamer and not a professional chess player, but obviously he would like to win the event. And he still has some chances. At some point, he had even better chances than now. Unfortunately, he has lost some games, and I will show you one of the games he has lost, but I will also show you one of the games he has won in an impressive fashion. And this video will be a lesson to everyone on the psychology of chess. I will explain as we go through the moves of the games how it affected the outcome of both games. The first game that we will start with is the battle between Hikaru Nakamura playing with white and Fabiano Caruana playing with black from the 8th round of the Candidates. Fabiano Caruana, you know him probably, he's a legendary player, number 2 in the world for many years, and he's been to my podcast, by the way, check it out if you haven't seen it. And he was playing with the black pieces, and Hikaru, in his post-match interview, said that probably Fabiano was a little bit unsure of what to play. You will see why. So Hikaru opens up with e4, and Fabi goes for e5, and he goes for the Ruy Lopez, the Spanish opening. And here, Hikaru plays castles, and already here on move 6, Fabi thought for 6 minutes before playing d6, which is a standard move. And the same position already happened before in a different game by Fabi. So Hikaru obviously was prepared for this line, and Hikaru also played the same opening in this tournament. So Fabi should have also been prepared and should have known that Hikaru is going to play this. So Hikaru in his interview said that probably Fabi at this point was unsure whether to play for a draw with black, which is safer but less ambitious, or to play for a win. Because the tournament situation is as follows. At this point, Jan Nepomniachtchi was playing against Nijat Abbasov, the clear outsider, and everybody thought that Jan would win that game and would be on +3, so he would have 3 wins and no losses, and he would have some gap between himself and people who are chasing him in this tournament, the second, the third place. So Fabi, being one of those chasers, thought probably that he has to win with black to keep up his chances to win the Candidates. That's Hikaru's logic, and it seems accurate. But this is very important for chess psychology. If you play to win in an objectively equal position, if you play to win when you cannot rationally expect to win, except for maybe opponent making a mistake, blundering something, if you do that, you make bad moves, you make bad choices, you spend too much time, and that's exactly what happened to Fabi. Let's go through the moves of this game. So d6, he thought for 6 minutes, already a mistake here. You shouldn't spend 6 minutes in the opening that you know. You will need that time later on, and that's exactly what happened. So, of course, I'm not Fabi, it's easy for me to criticize, I'm not playing the games. Obviously, he would destroy me, and he did destroy me when we played a game at the end of our podcast, check it out. So, no disrespect to Fabi, but here, clearly, he would agree that he made some mistakes. So, he castled, this is all pretty standard. He rotates the knight, probably putting it here, maybe here. This is a standard maneuver in the Ruy Lopez and many other openings. So here, Hikaru also rotates the knight to put it either here or here. He said here that he didn't remember the exact lines, so he went for knight f1. And here, Fabi struck with d5, also after some think. Well, he spent 2 tempi moving this pawn first to d6 and then to d5, but there's nothing bad about this move. In principle, it's a good principled move, breaking in the center, trying to equalize. Okay, Hikaru takes, all logical. Fabi takes, strengthens the knight with c6, and Hikaru breaks in the center, trying to initiate some skirmish in the center of the board. The knight goes back because the queen and the bishop together are now putting pressure on the d4 knight. h3 is a nice move, prophylaxis against both the bishop and the knight going to g4. Here Fabi decided to take. It's a committal decision, giving the 2 bishops to the opponent. And already Hikaru said in the interview that he didn't like this decision by black because this gives him a more pleasant play. And it's very important in chess also, when there is the time factor, to play a position that is easier to play for you, when it's easier for you to make moves. You can make them faster, almost like pre-moving your moves. So here, Hikaru has such position. Also note that the knight again returned to d5. So this knight has made some moves in this game. You see, it first went to f6, then it went to d5, then it went back to f6, and then it went back to d5, spending some time. This is not fatal in such a position, but still too much galloping with the knight. You will see what happens to it next. So both sides develop another knight move, as you can see, knight f4. And after being attacked, Fabi again moves the knight back. Why? Why? It's not a fatal decision, but probably something with his nerves. I don't know. Maybe he was looking at Jan's game with Abasov and was surprised that Jan doesn't have a big advantage after the opening, playing with white pieces. Abasov easily equalized and played a brilliant game and made a draw with black against Jan Nepomniachtchi, while everybody was expecting Jan to win and increase the number of points you have to get to catch him. So maybe that influenced Fabi. I don't know, but all those knight maneuvers are really strange. Knight f6, knight d5, knight f6, knight d5 again, then knight f4, then again knight d5. It's the third time that the knight returns to d5. It's crazy. But still, the position is objectively equal, but it's unpleasant for black, and it's not easy to play. So white develops, black again moves the knight to f6, another knight move. Not a bad move per se, but still, you can see that black doesn't have good moves, good improving moves. Black's just galloping back and forth with the horsey, while white is improving the position. Now there is the pin on this knight, and the knight dies, the bishop dies. There is no more two bishops advantage for white, but white's position is very pleasant, and the moves are very easy to make. You just go queen d2 or queen d3, then you go rook a to e1, and you put pressure. Maybe in future you go h4, h5, or in some variations f4, f5. So the position is very, very, very pleasant to play with white. There is no risk. Yes, d4 is an isolated pawn, but you cannot get to it. So white is pleasantly better from a practical standpoint, at least. So here Fabi wants to trade. He already thinks, okay, I need to play for a draw. Probably, I don't know, but Hikaru declines. Now Fabi tries to initiate some complications, and this could be playing for a win, but you see how much time he spent on this move. 20 moves. This is not good. This is not good, because this is move 25, and Fabi has 13 minutes left to make 15 more moves until time gets added to his clock. So from practical standpoint, knight f4, it's a good move, but you don't have the luxury to spend 20 minutes on it. Now, facing Hikaru Nakamura, who is one of the best speed chess players in the world, playing with such a time deficit is very dangerous. h4, a great move found by Hikaru. The idea is that if you take, there is rook e4, and you are pinning this knight and you are attacking it twice, and black has to go g5, and you already can stop your calculation here because the queen has no moves and the knight has no moves. Yes, white sacrificed the pawn, but white has a huge advantage. White goes here and then attacks, and the queen is out of play, and if it goes here to leave via these squares, it cannot, because the knight controls both of these squares, so the queen is stuck. This is very interesting, not something you see every day. So taken on h4 would be too dangerous. That's why Fabi goes back to d5, also threatening mate in 1, by the way. Obviously Hikaru didn't blunder this. Rook e4, and here there was a move that was the best one, objectively, but impossible to find. Maybe you can find it, but you can't calculate it with 13 minutes on the clock. Knight takes g2. The idea is this pin. So if the king takes here, you can go f5 and win this rook, because it cannot move, and black is winning. But it's not checkers. You're not obliged to take. White is not obliged to take. There is a great human move here, would be queen d3. And that's what probably both sides were calculating when deciding against this. So the idea is to move the rook, for example, here, and then give a check from h7, and black's king is in a lot of trouble. And also this knight could get taken later. So the best move here is bishop h3, really weird move. Rook e5, rook takes, queen check, king here, de, and somehow it's a draw, the computer says. So both knight f4 and knight h4 lead to a draw, but it's impossible to calculate with 13 minutes, and both sides didn't calculate this. Also, queen d3 is not the best move even. Queen c3 is the computer choice. Somehow it's better, because this king h2 is the best move here. And the difference is that knight f4 does not attack the queen on d3. Had the queen been on d3, that would be an attack on the queen, but the queen is on c3. That's very subtle, very computerish idea. But neither sides calculated that. Knight g6 was the move, and white again is pleasantly better, pressing, and has more time. And Fabi has just 12 minutes. Doubling up the rooks, knight goes back, again some weird knight maneuvers. Yes, it's understandable that the knight on f8 never mate, as they say, but you will see that it's not the case in this position. Rook e5, queen moves back. h5 is not the best move, but Hikaru is pressing on the clock. It's very important. Watch my video about how Jan Nepomniachtchi destroys top GMs by pressing on the clock. The link will be in the description. That exactly is an example of Hikaru pressing on the clock. And Fabiano crumbles here, making a fatal mistake. Not the last one, but already it's lost. So he could have gone for queen b6, the computer says, and there is some counterplay, but still unpleasant to play with black. But he wants to trade pieces here. Psychologically, he's, again, playing for a draw. He wants a draw. He understands that his position is not comfortable and he doesn't have enough time. So he makes a mistake by trying to simplify the position, because now knight f5. Galloping in. Garry Kasparov, world chess champion, once famously said that a knight on f5 is worth at least a pawn, or maybe more. You remember that the black's knight used to be on f4, similar square, but it's no longer there, and this knight is here to stay. Very good position. Also know that h6 pawn is not located in the most optimal way while the knight is here. So now you never can play g6 because this pawn is also vulnerable. So queen f6, queen b4, and already the position is lost, but Hikaru here, Fabi here in time trouble makes a blunder that ends the game on the spot. He sees that the pawn on b7 is attacked, so he goes b5, and it's just a blunder that, well, in time trouble, obviously everybody blunders, so it's understandable. Knight e7, and king moves to h8, knight d5, and Fabi just resigns here because the knight attacks the queen and the queen attacks the knight. If you take, this is just checkmate because this bishop controls the h7 square. So yeah, it was a pain. It was a pain to see Fabi lose in such a brutal fashion, but it was because of psychology. Obviously, Fabi is playing much better than this when he is stable, when he's not double checking himself, thinking whether he should play for a win or a draw. This is what psychology does to people. Now, another example shows us that Hikaru can also be the victim. Let's dive into another game. This game was the first ever loss by Hikaru in classical chess since 2022, last round of those candidates where Dean Lejeune defeated Hikaru to take the second place and to gain the right to play for the title. So since then, 2 years already have passed. Hikaru has lost no classical games. He has drawn many, he has won many, 50 games in a row. He had a streak without losing even once. Even Magnus Carlsen didn't have such a streak. So Hikaru was very stable. And in this game, he lost in white and he got a losing position with white in 15 moves. This is crazy. So I will show you this. This probably is also some psychological effect. We will explore which one. So here Hikaru is playing with the white pieces. He also chooses the same opening, Rui Lopez, and d6 also played by Vidit. Some people play d5 here immediately. Like, I think Alireza played this against Nepo in one of the earlier rounds. But Vidit chose d6 like Fabiano. And here h3 is nice prophylactical move. The knight again rotates, very similar. But here c6 is the move that surprised Hikaru. He was not prepared for this. And he went into a deep think, after which he retreated the bishop to d3. Well, he could have taken here, but that would lead to interesting complications. The computer shows at first that white is better, but then after something on higher depth, the computer shows that this is pretty much equal. So takes, knight g6, and then this pawn will get attacked some point later and probably will get taken, so it's not that bad for black. Hikaru didn't want to go for this because he wanted to outplay Vidit psychologically. He did not want to go for Vidit's prep, even though Probably he felt that objectively the best move is to take. He decided to avoid all that nonsense, as he likes to say, and retreat the bishop back to d3, which is not a fatal mistake per se, but which led to a series of unfortunate choices. So he retreats back with his bishop, and here white takes the pawn, and white can take another pawn. Knight takes e5, which Hikaru did after a long thing. And here Vidit immediately unleashed a bishop sacrifice to h3. Bishop takes h3. You can see by the time usage that Vidit is still in his prep. This position was on his computer before the game. He was preparing it. And here, Hikaru went again into some deep think, and he was calculating. And as he said in his recap, he was calculating taking, and he saw the best move by black, queen b8. Very unpleasant, attacking the knight and also x-raying this diagonal. So if the knight, for example, goes here, queen g3 is a deadly check, because this bishop prevents the pawn taking the queen, so that would be losing for white. It's like devastating attack, so you cannot do that. So obviously you cannot retreat with the knight, but you have this move bishop f4, which Hikaru also saw during the game, as he said on his channel. And he saw that bishop c7 attacks the knight, but you can retreat, for example, bishop d3, giving back the piece, but protecting against all the threats, and going queen f3, for example. And the position is interesting, even a little bit better for white. But for some reason, he decided to be too cunning. He decided, okay, I don't want to go for those complications. Vidit probably calculated everything with a computer. Let's be safer, let's be more clever, let's retreat with a knight. And he retreated with a knight, and already the position is -1. So a big advantage for black on move 12. This is crazy, and Hikaru already spent almost half of his time, which is unusual for Hikaru. And from now on, it all went downhill for Hikaru. His queen is attacked, so he has to retreat. Now the bishop retreats, and in some future, if this knight moves from attacking the square, the queen can come there and deliver checkmate, or the queen can come this way after the knights go here and deliver checkmate. Very unpleasant position for white, even though the material is equal. So e5, knight retreats. Hikaru grabs another pawn. He's up a pawn now, but it doesn't really help him. This king is very safe, black's king. White's king is very unsafe. Those pieces are underdeveloped. That's the main problem with white's position, and they never get to develop in this position properly. So he retreats here, which is already a losing. Here he should have gone for a piece sacrifice, queen e4. He didn't do this because of f5, but he said that he even saw this sacrifice before, but he decided against this. So this is a check, and here you get to pin the knight. And yes, black is better. Black has a piece up, but white has some counterplay, and white has a couple of pawns, and that's what white should have gone for. Knight d6 is strong here. If you take, white takes, and this is a pin that is very annoying, so you have to give up an exchange here, and probably king f7 even. Yeah, that's the only move to defend this. And black is better, but it's not as easy as in the game. In the game, Hikaru dropped back with the bishop to d3, and already the advantage is overwhelming. -1.5. b5 kicks the knight out. Knight e5 gallops in. Now this knight is ready to join the attack. This queen is ready to join the attack. Hikaru tries to desperately also exchange pieces, playing for a draw, but this doesn't help. f5, very strong move. If you take, I can take with a knight, I can also take with a pawn, opening up this file for the attack. All black's pieces are extremely active, whereas the queen side of white is passive and underdeveloped. f4 is a desperate move, already a losing position for white pretty much. Bishop b6 seals the deal. This pin is very deadly. If you take here, there are many ways to move, but knight d5 is the most logical, probably putting more pressure on this knight. f4 later can come, and it's just lights out. So f4 was an interesting attempt, but bishop b6 already gets winning advantage to black. Hikaru tried to bomb cloud here just for the memes, for the content, but quickly collapsed. One check didn't help him. Yes, he took the knight on e5, but the queen joined in, and this pressure is mounting, and nothing there is to be done here for white. White tried retreating, exchanging some pieces, but the position is just lost, and after some checks, And this check, Hikaru resigned because next move, for example, knight b2, he has to give up the exchange because this is a fork, so the position collapsed very fast. So again, psychology, because Hikaru Nakamura never loses like that. He just thought that he is being a bit more clever, a bit more cunning, trying to mix up Vidit's preparation, and he was on the receiving end of this horrible defeat. I wish him better games than this in the remainder of the tournament. He did manage to win against Alireza and against Fabi later on, so he's still in contention for top places. So we will see. I hope this video is a reminder to everyone that psychology is very important in chess. You have to be stable, you have to be in your zone, you don't have to rush, you don't have to be overthinking things, you don't have to be playing both for a win and for a draw at the same time. You have to be consistent, you have to be confident, and you have to avoid nonsense. And that will make you a much better practical chess player. See you in the next video.